We're back. We got cut off on what were we doing?
Telephone.
How
right.
we know that the Bible isn't like telephone and doesn't have mistakes, and we covered how.
Oh.
Yeah, there's grammatical errors, but we can go back and verify with the very first documents, and it still reads the same.
Yeah, we can go all the way back to so close within the originals being written that it is highly likely and highly probable that what we have today is indeed accurate, at least in some of the versions we have. Obviously, there are some translations and such in different Bibles, different types of Bibles that certainly don't really match up to what is accurate. But,
okay. So, then what is our other, I don't know, objections to the New Testament or ways? Because there's several ways. It's overwhelmingly like the ways that you can prove that the New Testament is reliable. But
so something I'd like to talk about too before we sort of dive in on like how we know what's in it specifically is true is the early church fathers quotations and letters and such, in which they quote out of the majority of the books in the New Testament. There's two that they don't quote out of that we can find, which is like Jude and 1 John, I think, or 2 Peter. I don't remember which ones. But not only that, but from their quotations, we find like the majority in the New Testament out of their quotations.
From them quoting the New Testament writings. Yeah. From their writings, where they're quoting the New Testament writings, we get what?
Yeah. We get the majority of it.
The majority of the New Testament.
Just from the quotations.
Just from them quoting it.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's the three of the early church fathers. I don't recall their names at the moment. I can't remember what their names were.
Oh, man. I know one of them that keeps slipping my mind.
Okay, here it is. Clement.
I kept wanting to say Clarence. I was like, I know it's not Clarence.
Ignatius and Polycarp.
Polycarp, yep.
Yeah,
I knew those two, Clement and Polycarp.
Yeah, I remember Polycarp because it's a P
name. It's because the name's different, Polycarp.
But who names himself
That's crazy. You know, and when you want to argue, well, your Bible's been corrupted, it's been changed. The guys in the first century that we got their writings from, you can almost get the whole New Testament from them quoting the scriptures in their writings.
That's insane convincing to me.
It lets me know that what I'm reading is what was written very first. It is the everything is true as a historical. Now, like I said, you can argue the resurrection if you want to, but to me, the evidence for the resurrection's there. People can argue whatever. Well, you know, you can argue that many ways. Like we said, we've seen people commit mass suicides and stuff like that, but this is just in a different way. And it went on for too long and for too many people. Like when Nero's lighting them up for street lamps and everything else, it's like, who
would go under that?
Who would do that?
Yeah. Certainly,
not only for a lie.
Right.
Who would do that? That's what I meant. Mm-hmm. Who would do that? Not knowing the truth, for one. You know, not knowing. Like, if I don't know.
Having some doubt.
Yeah.
And you see, like, your friend.
Yeah, go ahead and light me on fire.
Yeah.
No, you're not doing that. But now, would you do it for a lie? Something that you know you're lying about?
Not.
You're not going to do that.
No.
It's not going to happen.
It doesn't happen. Certainly, there were many Christian persecutions as a result of the movement. You know?
Look at everybody.
And not only that, but you have Roman. It just doesn't
make
sense.
The lives of the apostles, the freaking lives of the early church. Like, dude, it was no advantage to you. Wouldn't.
Nothing.
What did you get out of the world for lying for it?
Absolutely nothing. And
persecution.
Yeah. Exactly. Nothing good. Nothing
good. Nothing good came of it. I mean, your salvation came, but. Yeah. But from the world, what did you get for doing that?
Nothing.
So there's no purpose to do it if you don't know it's the truth.
No, absolutely not.
Nobody's coming out 3 days after execution, after they watched a man get crucified, and then coming out, hey, let me join them for just because.
It just doesn't happen.
You're not doing it.
You may get a couple
not
crazy
500 thousands.
You may get a couple crazy guys, but
I don't know the numbers. I wish I had I don't know if there's ever been estimated numbers on how many Nero killed.
It'd be interesting to know.
I'm sure it's a lot.
Because, I mean, this is the thing, too. It wasn't just Nero. There was other Roman emperors. There's a couple of 100 years where there was
because I mentioned the streetlight things, but Nero fed them the lines. And he did all kinds of... So there was a plethora, a steady supply.
Mm-hmm. There had to be certainly quite a bit. So.
And it impacted the world like that.
Right.
Like, it impacted... Like I said when we was talking... Take away his divinity.
Mm-hmm.
Take away Jesus Christ's divinity. We know he is a person because he is the most important human being. If we just look at him in the eyes of being man, he's the most important man that's ever existed.
He shaped our history.
Shaped the history.
Shaped it
gave us
now.
Our calendar.
Huh?
Like everything is about him and around him, and even today, the opposition.
Right.
That's the only one they're against.
Right. The Christianity is the foundation of, especially Western society.
Oh, absolutely.
All of our sciences, everything.
Yep.
It's either come to try to disprove or approve it, or try to work with it, or try to understand it more. Everything has come from Christianity.
Well, a lot of people don't understand that in the beginning that science, it came from the Christian.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
those were the Christians.
Yep.
So, now looking not outside anymore, let's look into the actual New Testament. How do we know, or why do we trust what's in the New Testament to be so true? Whereas there's other documents, other religions, or whatever, have some pretty interesting systems of belief in their stuff.
Dude, I mean, when I went on my trip looking for the truth, like I went through all the religious stuff, and Hinduism was like,
it's pretty popular.
Dude, Hinduism I was like, bro, this is it. I'm like, This is it. Because I was kind of into quantum physics and like Hinduism, and like stuff just went together, and it was like, awesome, whatever. And then I kind of just, I was like, I got to a point where I was like, well, man hasn't figured anything out religious wise, and I got totally in the science side. But when I was reading the Vedas, I was in a brief moment of like, hey, I laughed at a guy that came in my World Civ class because he was Hindu, he was from India, and he just talked to the class about the teacher found out that, and we were studying that at the time, and so he had him present for the class, and we're all like snickering and laughing at the guy and stuff, and like, that's crazy, but then like when I read it later, I'm like, oh man,
there's certainly some
it's entertaining. It's that it makes a case until you just, and I found the truth.
Certainly they appeal to human behavior, emotion especially.
Oh yeah, and that's why I argue with people when they're like, well, Christianity is a tool for control and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to make a religion and I want to control people with it, why am I going to design it to go against every single worldly desire that humans have?
Right. Well, that's the thing. Christianity,
who do you control with that?
It is characteristically different, except maybe in Hinduism in a sense, because it's about perfecting yourself throughout reincarnations and such. But Christianity paints people as totally bad.
Yeah, none are good.
Yeah, they're immediately just not good. The only way you're getting to be good.
Like, how does that appeal? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why? And that's the thing that is too. Like, I think people that say that, they don't know the word. Right. They don't know the Bible. Because like right now, that's we have great. It's a whole other conversation. Yeah, but like, what I mean? They don't. They haven't made the difference between what the word says.
Right, and especially when you look at the Old Testament, a lot of bad stuff certainly happened to people.
Right. So I get where they get that.
Right.
But
you just have to understand the full story.
Study the word, man. You got to study the word. Yeah. And that's what I gotta say, because I was that guy. Mm-hmm. I was making fun of people that were Christians at work, and having conversations and talking about just how ridiculous. Like, I've been there.
But Christianity, in the sense of it painting us as just bad people, is not appealing or attractive as comparison to other things, certainly. So I understand the conflict with that. But getting back to the eternal evidence, why is it what's written in there do we believe is truthful to us? And most interesting thing to me immediately pops in my head is an embarrassing testimony.
Yeah, why would you record that?
Yeah, so there were multiple times through the 4 Gospels and Acts, especially, where the apostles didn't understand what Jesus was saying. Jesus was ridiculing them for not understanding things, and even calling Peter Satan because he didn't, he was trying to stop him from dying.
Right.
And there's also...
they obviously didn't understand.
Yeah, they didn't understand. They denied Christ.
So these are your
before his death.
Your second in command guys.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And it's recording guys. That they are still lost in the fact of what's going on.
They don't get the full picture until after his death and resurrection. You know, so you have all of that time of where Jesus is leading these guys around and trying to teach them, right?
Right.
And they just can't understand. They don't get it, you know? And why would you record yourself being like that? And certainly also your leader, Jesus, you know, it says he goes and talks to the prostitutes. He accepted thieves while they were on the crucifix.
Right.
You know, so why would you paint your prophet, your God, in such a light if it wasn't true?
Right.
You know?
And Muslims try to use that too. They'll use it to be like, oh, that's God. That's who. You know what I mean? And
they certainly take it the wrong way.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's just like that whole. Well, Jesus hung out with strippers or sinners.
Yeah, sinners.
I was using that because I was going to say, because somebody would be like, well, you know, I go to strip club, and yeah, but
right.
Jesus wasn't going to the strip club and taking shots and hanging out all night and paying for lap dances and stuff. No. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what Jesus is doing.
He's out there.
Jesus didn't hang out with sinners. Sinners came and hung out with Jesus,
right?
And no longer sinned.
Exactly.
They were no longer sinned. Now he called followers, said, "Hey, come follow me." But what? Repent and change your ways. Change your ways. Come be with us.
Exactly. His entire.
You didn't pick up the stripper, come and hang out. She went back to stripping. No,
that's not what happened.
They were a sinner. They joined. They believed. They stopped.
Exactly.
It drives me crazy. Well, Jesus hung out with sinners. Yeah, they were sinners when they came there.
Exactly.
And then once they learned the truth, they turned.
Stopped.
They were not sinners anymore.
Exactly.
If they was to have kept sinning, they wouldn't have been allowed to hang.
Yeah, certainly people paint a picture where he's just out hanging out with.
Well, there's that just fully tolerant.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But that's not the case, and certainly if you've read Revelations or the Old Testament, that God is not tolerant of that behavior.
We're in a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole. Yeah,
we're in a whole other area right now. Which will be a good conversation to have at some point, but right now we're going to stay why we believe the Bible.
Right. So again, as far as embarrassing testimonies covered, my favorite story is the case of Paul preaching in a house late at night in the second story of the house, and as he's preaching, it's going on late at night. You know, people are sitting and listening. You have one young man sitting out on the balcony listening, falling asleep while Paul is speaking, and then falling over the balcony and dying.
Yep.
And why would you record yourself being so boring?
This is the apostle of
God,
the Gentile, you know what I mean, or whatever. He's bringing the message. Everybody's listening to him. Well, guess what? He's so boring that this kid falls asleep and dies because he falls off. Why are you...
Exactly.
Why was that? You know, there's no purpose to record other than, I mean, I guess somebody could argue, well, he brings him back to life, so it was a miracle recording.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Other miracles happen though, so like, why would? But they record that stuff, and it's just like we talked about before, like David. Like David told, why would you record all that stuff about David?
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean. If he's one of your examples of faith,
right?
Why would you record all that stuff about David? You wouldn't, unless you just wanted the truth recorded.
Exactly. The whole Old Testament centers around Israel and them not failing to meet God's standards,
right?
You know, and what resulted out of that was several dispersions, or 3 specifically, and just their ultimate fall from God's favor. And the whole Old Testament just paints again how bad people are and can't meet God's standards. So they get out of here.
What are you doing, dog?
Here, Leo, come here. I'm going in your cage.
Oh, yeah. What were you on?
So the embarrassing testimony.
Embarrassing testimony.
Yeah. So like I said, there's multiple accounts where the apostles don't understand their savior, their leader. There's Paul preaching to the guy. And certainly all the cases, and especially Acts, where it's like they were persecuted in almost every town they went into. They were beaten, stoned, looking to be killed, jailed.
Yep.
And
you're the God, you're the God of the universe. These are your people.
All right.
Why would that be the stuff to record if it wasn't the truth?
Yeah, why wouldn't you paint it in a more positive light?
It isn't, it's just it's another.
And especially comparison to other religious documents, is that it certainly doesn't have that kind of embarrassing testimony in it.
No, I don't know
that I know of.
I've not read
in that way.
You know, like, and I've only read, like I said, the Vedas, the Quran, Book of Mormon. That might be. I've read some of Buddha's writings, but that's probably it. But you don't have no examples like that of their example men, like they're men of the faith. And there's none of that stuff on them.
Let's speak us on something else. Is the what's it called? I blanked out there because of the dog barking.
Because of Leo barking.
Is how the documents actually are structured, how they're worded, and how they come together. So most religious documents seem to be like they are almost like poetry to me, or like telling stories and whatnot. You know,
right?
Like fiction almost.
And that's what people say the Bible is, but. You know, it's just a collection of fairy tale stories, but it's not written in a fantastical way. It's not the Book of Enoch. And that's what I'm saying. That's why the Book of Enoch is not divine, because the Bible is not written that way.
No, it's written like actual historical.
Now, people can go to the Old Testament and be like, oh, so yeah, but it's not written that way.
It's not.
Things might happen that
it contains.
Yeah, but it's not written that way. It's not written to be a fantasy novel like you see. I don't want to talk, but whatever. Yeah. It has that kind of...
The structure of it is nevertheless different. The character of it is different from other religious texts. And when we read, especially New Testament documents, is that they are written, again...
Yeah, New Testament is... I mean, other than, I guess, if you want to claim all the miracles of Jesus is fantasy. Mm-hmm. Other than that, like, they were written in a way of like, hey, no, check this.
Right.
Check it.
And not only that, but they introduce a lot of things that they first didn't have to,
right?
To be checked on. You have names.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They open themselves up
to be tested.
Absolutely.
Right.
To be tested. But I was looking for the other word.
Right. So
subjugation.
The great example of this is in Luke and Acts, right? So I believe in Acts specifically, there's like 84 different historical things that have been tested, or that you can go and test. You know, you have names of prominent people during that time. You have specific geographical information that you would have to be there or know someone that had been there to have written it, or to written it.
Well, that stuff but that says not even Luke. Like, you can go to the Gospels and it has that stuff. You have things that we can still go to, like the well and Mark 2, Peter's house.
Yeah, Peter's house.
Everybody that lives there knows that it's not a question. Right. If that's Peter's house, then you know it, and you can go there today and you can see it. It had the thatch roof and everything, like everything that the Bible says.
Everything
describing it. It's Peter's house.
Yeah,
and we know it is.
There was tons of details that didn't need to be put in there, right? But they put them in there in part just because, especially with Luke, he's almost
they're divinely inspired writings, and I would say that God knows. Okay, people are going to want to test my word.
Right. And that's why there's so many.
This is why this writer's recording this.
Right. It's just
unbeknownst, maybe even to the writer.
Right. Certainly.
But now it holds up with time because, hey, guess what? We can test it.
Yeah, there's so much of it in there that we can test and have verified, and even some stuff from the Old Testament. That's kind of crazy to me. That's like,
because everybody's like, it's faith. It's just faith. There's so much evidence.
Right.
Like, how much faith do you have to have? Because you have all the evidence. If you just have an analytical mind.
Right. Well, that's the thing to me. I think.
To me. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. That's just where I got there. Analyzing everything. I went a full I was like to say full circle, but I was never a believer. Right. I put Jesus Saves on my shoulder pads, but I never knew Christ.
Right.
Never knew the Bible. Never knew. I just knew of Jesus was worshipped in this country pretty much, and I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I grew up in a small town, West Kentucky. I love Jesus, but I didn't know.
Right.
And I do that whole full circle like we're talking with all these other. I'm like, none of this other stuff
adds up.
Stacks up at all, and just I got to the point where I was just at the whim of the universe, I guess, and for whatever reason, 4 years ago or something, I started getting the itch. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna research the Christian Bible again. It's just all this stuff we're talking about. I've seen all this evidence, and I'm like, how can you deny it? But anyway.
But and I feel it's kind of a.
We have a zoo in here today.
Yeah.
So it's Bible discussion at the zoo today. Okay.
But speaking on this, okay, she don't usually even come in here, but whatever. But I feel again, it's especially important that people don't just say, "Well, it's a faith thing," because this is talking about your salvation. This is talking about why, what's going to happen to you in the future. It's not something to be taken lightly, in my opinion. So. It's important to research, and not only that, but again with the Bible and its uniqueness is that it says, "Hey, test us. Hey, use reason.
That's the thing.
Use test reason. Me. Try to understand
exactly.
me." That's what it.
Beat me with your logic and reasoning.
Right.
Beat me with your ability to test historical documents. Right. You can't. Right. And we're at 2,000 years, and people have their little theories and things they want to say. But guess what? You have not proven it wrong.
No, absolutely not. But it's just like the Bible tells you again that you need to understand this. You need to try to rationalize this and reason with it and argue against it and just come to the realization, and you will.
I think a lot of people's problems is the Old Testament.
It is,
but in that the way I am, I don't know how you did, but like once I find out Jesus Christ's story is real and what happened and it's historical documents recorded. Everything, all that's true, then I have to believe in Jesus. And if I believe in Jesus, I have to believe the Old Testament. I have to believe what Jesus believed. Exactly. So he absolutely believed he was the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecies.
Right.
I believe his story to be true. I believe he was who he was. I have to believe the Old Testament.
There's certainly a lot of people have a moral conflict.
A lot of people have
with the Old Testament.
With the whole logical fallacies and moral conflicts.
Yeah.
And they take it to the Old Testament.
Exactly.
And they don't understand it's a different, it's a different time. Yeah. Time kind of split. Literally, like we have a calendar that's split to signify that or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I know it's a hard concept to grasp, even though your calendar's split, but the the existence kind of split right there.
Right, yeah.
Like we went into a different time.
Yeah, and certainly we can, we'll have to do some things covering the Old Testament.
Oh, we're going to absolutely. I mean, but that's the thing that people, they don't grasp that part.
Yeah. So, getting off that and going back to the internal evidence, I'm not sure.
Internal,
not eternal.
Internal. So, well, we kind of covered it. We kind of covered internal with all the verifications of archaeological and the people that just keep popping up. Oh, well, this character, we can't find no Jesus. It's pretty much Jesus now that we don't have any proof of, as far as like on coins or there's no like archaeological proof of Jesus, but
there couldn't be,
right?
As far as his body,
right? No, none of that. But you know what I mean, like how we just found that one king. They found a coin that had that one king on it, is because he was.
And I was reading the other day that they found a rock on a mountain out that way, recording the phrase the house of David, or King David, or whatever. Because a lot of people believe David wasn't a real person until that was found, and it's dated to that time.
King David, yep.
Yeah. So certainly,
so that's been. I mean, it's just too much. There's too much to me. It's just like the Egyptian chariots in the bottom of the sea, and so like, come on, man. What do you mean?
Right?
You mean there's no evidence?
There's certainly
the Bible's all fairy tales. There's no evidence. There's a plethora of evidence.
If you do your research, and you should, because it concerns your salvation, it concerns your life.
Yeah, but I mean, some people don't care. Some people,
no, they don't.
Some people, like I said, you could give them the choice. Jesus could have a talk show, and Satan could have a talk show. Satan would have his fans.
Absolutely.
And people would talk down on if they were here in front of us. So, I mean, faith is one thing, but there's also humans are going to be humans.
Yeah, certainly, as that's been proven.
By the time Moses got back down the mountain, they were worshiping a golden calf.
Yeah.
I mean, humans are going to be humans.
Yeah.
And these are a whole other conversation.
Certainly.
But and we'll have them.
Yep.
But you got to know that. So when it's infuriating, sometimes it's like, how can you look at all this stuff and not believe? How did Moses leave you for a short period of time, and you're already like, when you've already seen, he's already led you out of, he's already done these great miracles in front of you, and it doesn't take no time.
Got you out of Egypt.
So we know people are going to be people.
Right. Absolutely.
And they're going to look for more, and they're going to look for worldly things, and they're going to look for worldly desires to be fulfilled, and that's their only concern.
That's their nature in part too, but we still have the ability to kind of get past our nature to an extent.
Well, we live in a fallen world.
Certainly. So we've covered external sources.
Internal.
Internal. We've covered the bibliographical test. From what I understand now, is we got to talk about is just some of the other objections. Right. So one that's pretty funny to me, in my opinion, is the swoon or apparent death theory, where
he just faked his death after he stabbed in the side with a spear and went through the whole crucifixion, and then he got up and he just pushed the rock away and walked over.
A rock that who knows how much that thing weighs.
And I've heard 3,000 pounds. I've heard whatever, but no man that's just bled and been beaten the way he's been beaten, lungs showing
hands
through
and
his
feet
back,
nailed to a cross and hung up. Somehow,
it's a flesh wound.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
so the theory is Christ didn't actually die on the cross, but it just appeared that way, and he was just really wounded.
Yeah.
But somehow got up out of his
tomb,
and certainly out of his wrappings and bindings, which.
Is he going to make? Is he getting past the first step of that?
Yeah, I don't even know.
As beaten as he is,
moving around.
Now, this, like we said the other day, kind of jokingly, but like, okay, if that's true, he's absolutely God.
Yeah.
If he got out of all that and pushed a 3,000, okay, I agree with your theory.
Yeah,
but that proves to me that he's God.
Yeah, exactly.
But that didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
Roman guard, the stuff that you try to
moving the rock, and then there's the guards. How do you explain that?
Oh, they were all it's just like the stolen body theory. Oh, they're all drunk and passed out, or they were paid off, no, bro. No.
So
Romans didn't want that to happen.
The other one is a stolen body theory, which means the apostles and such would have to get past the Roman guards. But you gotta understand, the Roman guards were like going to die if they had screwed up, because that's the standard. That's
what they did.
You're put on watch, and if you fail, you're dead.
There's no 3 strikes, you're out.
No.
You screwed up once? Okay.
Over. I was just guarding some tomb.
You're done with. Right. And it's just, that's a whole nother thing, man. Like, people argue that stolen body thing, and there's so much.
But it's not likely.
No, it's not likely at all.
Because, how do you get that change in character from everyone not believing him and then believing him after his supposed resurrection? I mean, even if the apostles stole the body.
Even if they stole the body.
How do you convince all those people?
I don't think those people think.
They dress somebody
well, I heard the body was stolen, but I ain't even seen the tomb. You know what I mean? It would be so much doubt, and who's coming out and saying, kill me?
Right.
That's my Lord. I will not deny him.
Another thing, too, is the first witnesses to him supposedly coming out, right? And after he died, is women. And during that time, women testimony wasn't considered valid.
Nope.
And certainly in court. So there's that too. Why would you say women are the ones that discovered them and not?
Oh, you're talking about part of the Barrison testimony, I guess, because that kind of goes hand. Yeah. Why would you? Yeah. Why would you name women when women's word wasn't taken?
For anything.
For anything. And that's who.
You have.
So why would you record? Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Oh, the part of the Barrison testimony that does go hand in hand with that for sure. Right.
So we've covered 2 controversies. There's certainly a lot more.
There's a lot of controversies
because there's the whole the destruction of the temple. The prophecy that the temple will be destroyed. Jesus prophesies, and then it did happen after the fact. But the
70 AD.
Yeah. So the New Testament doesn't record it, as far as I know, from what I remember. This line. It doesn't record that, which also adds to the authenticity in that it was written before that 70 AD thing.
Right.
Or when the temple... Because why wouldn't they include the temple being destroyed to say, okay, Jesus was right? Because he prophesies about being destroyed in a 2-part way. And then it was destroyed in 70 AD, but it wasn't recorded in the New Testament. So why wouldn't they add that to add to the validity of Christ being God or Jesus being God?
Yeah, so it had to be written before then.
Yeah, certainly.
That's that's the first time I thought about that. Yeah. That's the first time that's been presented to me. That's absolutely Why wasn't? And that shows you right there. All these texts are written before then because that happens.
All right.
So supposedly, that just got me thinking. So supposedly, Revelations is written in 90 to 95 AD.
Yeah.
So that was written after.
Mm-hmm. But it didn't include the section, which the whole thing about Revelations.
Yeah. Right.
Something else, but still.
I mean, it does say that the temple be rebuilt. So I guess he did know that
it would be. It is destroyed.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, the Revelation does indirectly account for the temple being.